Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Brew podcast. I'm your host Nora, and here's my co-host
Kat. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to all the beautiful dads, doggy dads,
Doggy
stepdads.
Whether you have kids or not, whether you're uncles, grandfathers, happy Father's Day. I hope you guys have a beautiful day ahead of you. I have to be honest, this week was really heavy for me.
It was for me too. It was. I think I was just so busy and on the go, and everything happening around the world. Mentally, has been draining and scary, and with everything going on in California, and then the plane crash, and then
the war.
There's
a lot. My dad, he flew back out on Wednesday to Kuwait, and he was on a plane when I woke up that morning, and I saw breaking news on Apple News, plane crash. My dad's on a plane.
Oh my God, yes.
I freaked out, jumped out of bed, read the article, and it was an unfortunate plane crash in India. But thankfully, my dad, he was. But then the next day, you have this war between Iran and Israel. It's been such a heavy week.
But everything's okay in Kuwait. Your dad's
everything
okay,
is fine
right?
in Kuwait.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to take a moment and thank and send prayers and positivity and so much love to all the people involved in this Indian plane crash. Mm-hmm. It's heartbreaking. Yeah. I can't even imagine what the families and the kids
trauma.
And just people, whatever they're going through right now. I wish I can hug every single one of them. It's so sad. It's so scary. And I just sending everyone my prayers, thoughts, and I just can't even imagine.
Does it scare you to get on a plane again? I know it happens. Plane crashes have been happening more often, more than usual. At least this year. Remember earlier this year there was a few.
There was constant plane crash here. But also spoken to a few of my friends that work in the airline business, and they mentioned how these things happen every day. Mm-hmm. Plane crashes happen all the time. A private plane or a commercial plane, it happens all the time. But lately, I don't know why, we've been focusing on them more than ever. It's been happening, but I mean, it's scary.
Yeah. I don't think it stops me from traveling, though. Flying,
it doesn't stop me from traveling.
I'm a firm believer.
It scares me a little bit.
I'm a firm believer that you need to have strong faith in God, and everything is written, and it shouldn't stop you from flying. Again, flying is still the safest way of transportation.
Yeah.
You're more likely to get in a car accident than an airplane crash.
I mean, look, when you're looking back at the plane crash that just happened to London, or was it?
What's going to London? You're going to London, yeah.
And one guy survived. Mm-hmm. There was 200, how many, 250 people, mm-hmm. and one guy survived.
I know.
That just always takes me back to whatever is meant to be and whatever is meant for you happen. Yeah. Whether you're on a plane, whether you're in a car, whether you walk outside of your front porch of your house, so for him, it wasn't his time.
Yeah.
So that's just me going back again. Like I said, just whatever is meant for you, it's going to be,
100%.
It's a sad,
Don't live in
tragic
fear.
situation.
Don't live in fear, but it's very sad. So I am sending prayers. Everybody who's been affected by this tragic accident. Get into our episode today. I think it's really important to be very transparent with our audience. I don't think people really got to know us on a deeper level.
I don't think so either, because we never really talked about us and where we come from and our upbringing and our backgrounds, childhood, all that. Yeah, I don't think people ever really
navigating life, moving here, and you were born in.
I was born in Sarajevo, Bosnia.
Oh, Bosnia. Okay. So what led you to move here?
But we'll summarize it. I was born in Sarajevo in 1999. And I'm sorry, what am I talking about? In 1989. Okay. I was born in 1989. And my family lived in a small town it's called Vojnica. And we lived with my grandparents, so we lived in a half of a house. You know how they have split level houses.
Yeah.
So my we lived on bottom floor. My grandma lived on the top floor. We lived there until I remember being 4 years old. I just remember my mom one time just telling me hey, we gotta go. 4 years old, and I'm like, oh my gosh. this is where I started to remember when I was 4. She grabbed me and we went down into our garage. You know how you have tornado shelters that go underground? Mm-hmm. So our garage had these tornado shelters. We went down there and we hid because that's when the war was breaking out in 93, 3 countries. So it used to be Yugoslavia. It was one big country. It was Yugoslavia. And then with the, the Croatians, Serbians, and Muslims, they all got, it was a whole war of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It kind of split the countries. Mm-hmm. My family and I went from Vojnica to Kiseljak, where my grandma had a house and lived in. So I remember as a kid, my mom told me, get inside the car, put your head down, because there's this beautiful church on top of the hill that overlooks the whole city. And there was a sniper on top of the church. And my mom was like, what? Put your head down. There's a sniper.
What?
Yeah. So I was, as a kid, I'm freaking out. I'm like, what's a sniper? Right. You don't know anything that's going on.
And he's targeting just innocent civilians?
So he's just targeting anybody that he can target at this point. I didn't understand it when I was a kid. I was just trying to listen to my mom. So we drove maybe 20, 30 minutes out east to my mom's aunt's house. And then we finally drove to Kiseljak, and that was a calm area. There was no war there at the time. And my grandparents, and there was a bunch of us at the time, slept on bunk beds. We all lived together. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I started going to school in Kiseljak. That's where I was. Before I moved to America, I lived in Kiseljak. So we never went back to Vojnica, which was the original city that we're. Yeah. I went to school there and did life there.
Do you recall how you were navigating the situation as young as being at 4 years old? Do you recall what was going through your mind back then, and how did you adjust? And how did your parents maybe explain the situation to you? Were you aware that there was a war breaking out?
They didn't mention it. I can remember briefly at 4 years old, your mom grabbing you out of bed because the bombing started. And at that time, you're thinking it's like a thunderstorm, but it's not, So my mom didn't really get into it too deeply with me when I was a kid because she wanted to protect us. I don't remember that part. I don't remember if she ever told me anything about it, but I know she didn't. I'm trying to remember, but it's just so hard because I'm 4 years old.
About your siblings, because you have older siblings, correct?
I do, yeah. They knew what was going on.
Not to cut you off, but I remember one specific, so I grew up in Kuwait, and you remember the Gulf War that broke out between Iraq and Kuwait back in early 90s?
Yeah.
In 2003, when Iraq was shooting missiles towards Kuwait. And then I remember very vividly the sirens going off, and then the news channel, the Kuwaiti news channel, telling people to take shelter back in 2003. And I was concerned because my father was still at work, and I remember my mom grabbing me and my brother, get into the closet. We didn't have an underground shelter in where I stayed. So we got in the closet and we just hid in a small 3x3 closet. Me and my brother all huddled up, and then we grabbed my younger baby sister. I remember being so afraid and just not understanding what is going on. But there's a person on TV telling us to just take shelter.
So scary. Just imagine going through it as a kid. You don't know what's going on. Yeah. You don't know where to happen in the next 2 to 3 minutes. It's terrible.
And it's even more terrifying, I think, for our parents.
I can't imagine.
I remember just being there in the closet. What is happening? I was so confused. But I can't imagine how traumatizing it is for a parent to be wanting to protect your family, at the same time trying to gather their thoughts. Yeah. What do I need to do? What do I need to get? Do I pack my stuff and leave? But wait, and shelter.
It's so scary. It's so scary. I'm going to go back to the story. So we lived in this town, and I went to school there, and I started learning. And I remember my mom telling me, my uncle at the time lived in America, and he was our sponsor, and he brought us here. So I remember my mom just telling me, hey, we have an interview. We got to go to this town in Split.
Oh, Croatia. Split, Croatia.
Yeah. We got to go there, and we got to talk to the American embassy and have this whole interview process. And I just remember how I was being in this embassy, and this guy was like, "Are you ready? Congratulations, you're going to America." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is so exciting."
Did you know what America was? Like,
I had no idea. And in school, while I was in Kisalak, we were like during school, I had English class.
Yeah.
And all I knew how to say was, "What's your name?" when I first came to the US. That's all I knew how to say. Because as a kid, you're just trying to remember it. But English is a very hard language to learn.
Well, not only that, it's any language at such a young age. And if you're not, if it's
I can't even imagine learning Arabic.
Yeah. Arabic, I think Arabic is one of the hardest languages to learn.
But I'm not. Arabic is one of the sexiest languages. When I hear a guy or a girl talking, like when you talk Arabic, I think it's so hot.
Well, that I sound very angry when I speak Arabic. It's very
That's
aggressive.
what they say about people like
who speak
example,
Russian and
Croatian, Serbian. When we're talking, we're very loud people. Sometimes people mistake that for us yelling or arguing. No one's arguing. It's just we're very loud. Like when my American friends used to come to my house, and my dad at the time when he was still alive, he would talk and they would be like, "Oh my God, your dad keeps yelling." And I'm like, "No, he's not yelling. He's just talking loud." It's just like how we are as people. You literally talk loud.
Very
it's
loud.
Wild. Yeah.
It's like the Italians. We're loud and obnoxious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we came to America, I remember we all left and my sister was with us. Not the oldest sister, but my sister that's older than me. Mariana, she was with us, and I remember she was going through a breakup because she was like, her boyfriend, she was leaving him behind, was different.
Did you feel an instant sense of security when you first got here?
I felt very uncomfortable because I was in a country that I had I was with my parents, but I wanted to go back. Right. I wanted to go back to what I was comfortable with. Yeah. I wanted to go back to playing with my friends and running around town. I was always the little kid. We didn't live in the city part. We lived in the country part of Kisalak, and everybody knew everybody. And I was like the kid running around down the street, saying hi to everybody. Everyone would sit outside their house, have coffees. And whenever anyone would walk by, they would know who it is or wave or drive by. I would always be the kid running around like, "Hi, everybody." I was very bubbly as a kid, too.
Still are bubbly. Nothing has changed.
Nothing's changed. I missed playing with my friends. I missed going to the parks. Back in the day, my dad cleaned gutters. My mom cleaned restaurants and bars. And like, we didn't have much. But the life was perfect, even though we didn't have much. Like, as kids, we would go around town and have these little magnets, and we would pull coins from the little like water drains in the city. And then we would buy with these coins, we would buy napkins. So what we did is we collected napkins back in the day, me and my friends. It's like paper napkins, but they had different designs and different logos. It was just so simple, but it was just so wonderful. We would come together and exchange each napkin. We would buy napkins.
That experience alone, how did it shape like how you value time today?
It makes me more grateful, and it makes me just be appreciative of everything that I have now. I come from nothing. And to be able to see myself go from where I was and the whole process of moving from another country, come in here not knowing any English, being thrown in school. I used to cry in school every day for the first year because I had no idea what anyone was saying around me, what the teachers were saying, but everyone was honestly so helpful. Like between cartoons, my cousins and school people, like friends, I learned in like a year, and then after that, it just got easier and easier and easier. It was still really hard because you were that foreign kid in school. Did you
get bullied?
I did get bullied in school. I did. People did tell me to go back to my country. I did. It was hard. It was traumatizing, like being in school. I wanted to just get out. I didn't want to be in school. But then it got better. And
did you feel like you had an identity crisis after you moved here? Because I think I do. Like, I genuinely feel like I have an identity crisis, and I'll explain why. My dad is Syrian. He was born and raised in Syria. My mom is Palestinian.
Yeah.
She was born and raised in Kuwait. My parents got married in Kuwait. I was born in Kuwait. I was raised in Kuwait for 17 years. But then I moved here when I was 17. And I hold a U.S. citizenship. Whenever I would tell people, like somebody would ask me, oh, where are you from? I'd struggle to answer because I never identified myself as a Kuwaiti. I'm not ethnically Kuwaiti, but I was born there. I don't hold the Kuwaiti citizenship, but I was born there. I was around Kuwaitis my entire life. I have Kuwaiti cousins because I have family. I never identified as a Kuwaiti. Yes, it impacted the way I grew up. I am influenced by the Kuwaiti culture, but I'm not a Kuwaiti. When I moved here and somebody would ask me, oh, so where are you from? I'm like, well, I was born in Kuwait. Oh, so you're Kuwaiti? No, not technically. I'm actually Syrian. My father is Syrian, Palestinian.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, so you grew up in Syria? I'm like, actually, I've never been to I've been to Syria twice. My entire life, literally been to Syria twice. Once when I was 15 and once when I was very, very young. So I don't really have, I'm not attached to Syria like my father is. Yeah. I moved here when I was 17 and now Cleveland's home. Like, where am I exactly from? I don't really know.
So I think you are where you're born. I guess it does get a little bit confusing.
They don't even have
So
birthright.
I'm from Bosnia. Well, Yugoslavia at the time. But I would consider myself from Bosnia because I wasn't born in... A lot of people say, oh, I'm Croatian from Bosnia, which is true. You have, you're Croatian from Bosnia, but...
I don't identify as a Kuwaiti. If anything, I'm leaning more into like Syrian, Palestinian. I grew up holding on to the traditions of Syrians and Palestinians from the Levant region in general. My family's a melting pot, to be honest. Like my great-grandmother's from Lebanon. I have family in Jordan. So we're a melting pot of like the
from
Levant,
all over,
the Levant region specifically, and Turkey. So... But yeah, it's always interesting that people identify me here as a Kuwaiti. Love Kuwait, love the culture, but I definitely lean into
more
my
towards
Syrian
side.
Syrian.
I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
I never really was like, because I knew I was born in Sarajevo, and at the time it was Yugoslavia. So technically, let's just be realistic. Yeah. I'm from Yugoslavia, and then the war happened and all that stuff. So like, I lived in these places, but at the time when I was born, it was Yugoslavia. Yeah. This is interesting. I love hearing where all the things about you, even though we've known each other, we still get to know each other every day. And I love that. We just keep connecting even more. I mean, we have literally the same.
Yes,
we moved
very
here.
similar.
Did you know any English when you came here?
Yeah, I did. So growing up in Kuwait, I was actually in an English-speaking school. It was a British curriculum, very strict. But yeah, my parents made a point to ensure that we knew English growing up because my siblings actually, when they were first in school in Kuwait, they went into an Arabic-speaking school, but then they switched them over to an English-speaking school, and they saw how it could help them in their future, and then potentially moved, to the States for school, and that's what eventually happened. My siblings are significantly older than me. I'm like the awkward middle child. My older sister's 9 years older. My brother's 8 years older. So a whole different generation.
You know what? It's same here.
Are you the middle child?
So you know what's
middle
actually funny? I am the middle child. Yeah. I have a sister that's the oldest sister, than the one that's older than me. And then me, and then my brother. What's funny is my oldest sister had a child, and before my brother was born, so my brother is younger than his own nephew. Isn't that funny? I always think that's funny.
My younger sister is closer in age to my niece than to my older sister. So my younger sister, Aya, is only 20. How old is Aya? 24. My older sister's 39, but my niece is 15 or 14. So like,
oh my gosh, I love it. That's so funny. But
it's interesting.
Yeah,
our audience, I don't think they've known anything about us personally, and how moving here at such a young age for you, and then for me at 17, getting thrown in a new city, first of all, making friends as an adult is just as hard as making friends as a young child. I moved here when I was 17, 18. I was very awkward in school. In college, I didn't know how to make friends. I was quiet. I was introverted. And people see me now. When people look at me now, I'm like, guys, I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago or even like a year ago.
Yeah.
You're always growing. You're always evolving. And you're never stagnating. Even if you feel like you're stagnating in life and you're stuck, you're actually constantly evolving. Every experience in life shapes who you become the next day.
Yes.
Even like some things that happened to me a week ago. Yeah. Constantly changing my perception of life and my perspective of my current situation. And I look back when I was 17, I was so naive.
I can't even think back.
The experiences that I've had between 17 and 30, first have truly shaped the woman I am today. But when I reflect back into the highs and lows and what led me to this moment in time, it gives me like a sense of calmness, knowing that I went through so much in my 20s, that here I am sitting across from you. I'm okay. Like, I don't want to get emotional right now, but like I've been through...
You're allowed to.
Yeah. It's hard for me to be vulnerable because I've come, like my family as a Middle Eastern, like we don't talk about feelings. We don't talk about emotions. The other day I had a conversation with my father before he left back to Kuwait. And it was the first time I actually cried in a very long time in front of my dad. And he looked at me. He's like, I raised you to be a strong woman. Don't you cry.
As kids, they wanted you to be strong. They wanted you. They raised you to be independent. They raised you to have a backbone.
Yeah, he did. He did raise me to be a strong, independent woman. That's really he's one of the reasons why I am the way I am today. But it also made me feel like sometimes it's okay to not be okay and like open up and be vulnerable and just let a few tears come down, roll down your eyes.
Yeah. I've learned to hide my tears because that's like as kids, you would get in trouble if you showed any emotion. And as a kid, that kind of messes with you and you go into your adulthood life and it's just like, okay, as a kid, not being able to show emotion brought trauma into
your adulthood.
That's why sometimes
you're like ashamed not to
I'm ashamed to show emotion or be vulnerable. I've learned so much in the last 2 years to work on myself, tell people how you feel and not hold it inside. Because holding it inside is
very heavy.
Bad. And then it becomes heavy. And then you just kind of start self-sabotaging your life because you're not explaining yourself to people and how you feel. And I've learned to do that, and I'm still a work in progress, but we're okay.
Well, you've learned to kind of break free from that.
Yeah.
That pressure to hold in your vulnerability.
And even like growing up, like there were things that would upset me, and I would be so afraid to tell my parents because I was afraid that I was going to get yelled at. I'm scared that I'm going to be like, okay, well, am I going to get whipped by, what is it, a switch?
Is that what?
Is that how you say it?
What is that?
Is it like, you know, my parents whipped my ass when I was a kid.
Yeah, I had
a belt.
Oh, really?
I had it's a swish. Is it a swish from the tree? You go and you pick out your own, No. It's a swish. I think it's like, there's a name for it.
I don't know.
Larry, do you know what it is? It's like a swish.
Right,
it's like
a switch.
It's like a tree.
Piece of a tree.
Oh, okay.
It's a piece of a tree that's very
where
thin.
The leaves hang out.
And then when you were like in trouble, my mom would go outside into the
little
garden, get a switch, and whip my ass with it. This is what it is. But my dad, I was a daddy's girl. My dad did not allow anything.
Yeah, we were disciplined by my mom for the most part. People that are listening that know me and know my mom, my mom was heard the moment she stepped into our school grounds.
I mean, my mom was a wild one back in the day. My dad would not allow anything. No yell at my mom. I remember my sisters, every time they would go out or I would start crying after them, They know this. They'll laugh
if you're
at
left
this.
with your mom.
They literally couldn't go out with their friends or anything if I was crying. They would have to bring me along. So my dad definitely, and if they didn't bring me, they would be in trouble. But anyways, those are some, when you really sit there and think about all that we've been through and the experiences and just the memories that we have, it just makes me feel more grateful to have gone through that, experienced that, to, I mean, like you said, like I'm sitting right across from you. You think about to yourself, like what you've gone through in your 20s, 30s, well, 30s, but you're about to be in your 30s. I'm talking about me because I'm 36, but it's just like, it's inspiring from being born in another country and coming here and following your heart and your dream. This is our dream, like our doing this podcast.
Yeah,
it's both of our dreams.
Because we've both wanted to do it for so long, and somehow our paths crossed, and it just happened to be with you.
Have you thought about it as a kid, how you always wanted a podcast, how you always...
So my parents will tell you. I used to be the one with the camera. I remember my first camera was a Sony digital camera.
Yes.
It was, I think it was like a bright red color. I remember asking for when I was young. And I would literally shoot music videos with my cousins. I was the editor and I was like the director. And we'd do a whole full-on production with background music, like dramatic music. And like we each pick a character we want to be. Like me and my three cousins, Sarah, Mariam, Farah. I'm going to pull up videos and put it onto the podcast.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see.
We would mimic music videos like from Disney Channel or like a Beyonce music video. And like,
oh my God, Nora, stop right now.
I'm not even
kidding.
I'm going
to tell you exactly.
I mean, it's traumatizing to look back at that. But honestly, I've always had a passion for the entertainment / production world. But growing up in Kuwait, it was just, I had to look at that as just a hobby, as something I do after school, because my parents were very conservative, very strict, and they were like, school comes first, gotta get straight A's, gotta do, go to your math class, science class, physics. At one point when I was in high school, I thought I was gonna be an ophthalmologist, a doctor. Like this, I was like, that's the way to go in life. You get your degree in engineering, medical school, or law school, and then you go and you get your job in one of those fields, and that's just how life is. But anything to do with the arts is just for fun. Yeah. That's how I was raised. Yeah. No, look at me like 20 years later.
And look, it's coming back to you.
It's coming back to me again.
You manifested this whole... So I'm going to tell you a really funny story right now. So you know how you said you and your cousins to play these little like roles?
Yeah.
So I did the same exact thing. As a kid, me and my cousin Nikki and then my friend Ana Maria, we would literally pretend Nikki was Britney Spears, Ana Maria was Christina Aguilera, and I was Jennifer Lopez. And we would literally go around pretending, like we would like pretend we're the singers, we would sing. And then as we grew up, my family we used to live in Novelty.
Okay.
By Chesterland area. And my parents were caretakers of this wedding venue. And we actually lived for free in their house as long as we took care of it. They cut the grass and all this stuff. And they had a stage in this wedding venue. And as my mom was cleaning and getting everything ready for the next party, I would be on the stage. I would be singing. I wanted to be in the spotlight. Being like an actor was a dream, but my parents, every time they would like, I would say, I want to be an actor. I want to do this. I want to do that. They would be like, oh, stop dreaming. Stop doing this. Stop doing that. That's not realistic. My cousins and I would go around our little forest area in the woods, pretend we're on this show, and we would be like, okay, Nikki, 3, 2, 1, camera starts now. Literally, that's so crazy.
Remember Cheetah Girls movie?
Yes.
And we literally mimicked, we each were one of the girls, me and my 3 cousins were 4 girls, and we'd even like learn the dance moves. We rewatched the scene over and over, and then I would choreograph the entire show, entire sequence, and film it, and then put on a performance for my family. But never did it cross my mind though between like the difference between the way you actually wanted. You told your parents, I want to be an actress, I want to be in acting. Or
yeah, I talk about it all the time.
I never thought of it as a career. It was never something I thought it was attainable. It was always so far away. And, you know, being in Kuwait at the time,
you didn't know.
Everything we saw was behind the TV screen. And it was never something I thought I could achieve or attain. And here I am with this podcast.
I'm so grateful to have this podcast with you. And I'm glad that you and I are like following our dreams. And it comes to manifesting your life. And I think that as kids, we manifested running into each other and starting this podcast. I'm so grateful for it. I really am. And I love this. And you and I connect so well. And I couldn't be more happier to do it with.
Yeah, and I love that we're connecting with the audience too. I've been reading some of the comments and
this was a lot of information to share because there's so much more, but it's just we're being vulnerable right now. I kind of love it because I want people to know the real side of us, the true, authentic selves that we are.
Unfiltered brew. You know, it's not picture perfect. It's not what you see on social media is just a front. There's more to us.
There's so much more to the back on the back end of it all.
Well, I am so excited to wrap this episode up today. And
thank you all for listening to us, for following, sharing our content, liking, posting. We love you so much.
Please don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or on Apple, on YouTube. It does help us a lot by subscribing and keeping up with us. And then we want to be able to push episodes out for you every single week. So please take a moment to subscribe and DM us with questions. We're reading our messages all the time. And I'm excited for next Sunday for our party.
I know.
So if you guys actually listened to the entire episode and you got to this point, DM us if you want to come to our party. Because it is invite only. It's our official Unfiltered Brew launch party. It's going to be an outdoor fun in the sun party with DJ, music, and food. So if you got to this point of the episode, DM us. Yeah, maybe we'll send you an invite.
Thank you guys again for sharing and for listening. Thank you for being so supportive of us and being by our side. We could not be more grateful for every single one of you. Thank you. By the way, we were supposed to have a guest on this episode, but we rescheduled that. But he is still coming. So just want to let you guys know that. We love you again. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Mwah.